everybody, it's your girl Imadi. Welcome back to another episode of The Mix. Today I have with me kind of like a high school friend of mine. Her name is India, and India's actually in the process of writing a book right now all about her childhood. So tell everybody a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up.
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with you in the suburbs,
Yeah.
and then I ended up going to Wayne State University in Detroit, and then later moving to Tennessee.
Okay, so that's where you are now.
That's where I currently am, yeah.
Okay, all right, and the name of the book is Silence,
Correct,
right?
yes.
Okay, so what was it that made you want to write the book? What was it that made you brave enough that you wanted to finally come out and tell your story about everything that happened growing up?
When I moved to Tennessee, I started working in corrections. And while I was working in corrections, I was coming across a lot of juvenile offenders.
Okay.
And while speaking to them, a lot of them would say, well, I didn't have someone to tell me X, Y, and Z. So,
You didn't have any guidance, basically.
correct. And at the same time, I was pregnant, so I kind of transitioned and started working in a school.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I can reach these kids a different way. Maybe if
Right.
I speak to them,
Now I can stop them from ending up in the
exactly.
system.
So
Okay.
now I teach criminal justice, and while teaching criminal justice, a lot of the kids were going through the same thing that I previously went through. So in a sense that they were kind of making it seem like they were alone, like they were the only ones experiencing these things. You know, they had nobody to relate to, nobody to talk to, nobody understood their pain.
Okay.
And you know, me being their teacher, I'm just like, like, you know, you're not the only person.
Right.
And so
I need to talk about this more because it can help
Right.
other people.
right.
Okay, makes sense. All right. Okay, so the book starts off with you and you were at a friend's house, right?
Yes.
Was one of your sisters with you or
No.
No. Okay, so it was just you at a friend's house and you guys were having a sleepover. And then tell everybody what ended up happening that night.
So we ended up having a power outage in Detroit. So it was lasting for a few days, and we're having a sleepover at one of my friend's house, and we're sleeping in the basement because it was much cooler there. So while we're in the basement, my friend ended up going upstairs to sleep in her room, leaving me, our other friend, and her brother downstairs. So
I'm sorry, hold on. How old were you at the time?
I was 8,
Okay, and the brother was
much older. He was a teenager, yeah.
Okay.
And he ended up molesting me during the
Okay.
time.
So at that time, did you realize that was what was happening, or it just
I knew it was something bad.
Okay.
And I knew it shouldn't have been happening, but I didn't
Right.
know that's what it was.
Right,
It
you
was,
didn't know the depth of it.
Right.
And, okay. So, and then you left there and you never told anyone? How many years was it before you told someone what happened?
It wasn't years. It was actually, so that happened during the summertime.
Okay.
And then the following year was 5th grade. So our school had like this big thing where they tell you about like your menstrual cycle and
Right,
you know
health
what
class, all that
yeah.
stuff.
So we're talking about it, and I kind of raised my hand. I'm like, hey, you know, what kind of happens if somebody does this? And the teacher's like, huh?
Shocked.
What do you know about that?
Because an 8-year-old shouldn't.
Right. So I guess she kind of took that and contacted my dad.
Okay. So did you ever tell your sisters that, or you didn't tell anyone
No,
until?
Jasmine was in the class. We're all in the, library.
Oh, okay.
But she
so
didn't know.
she heard it at the same time.
She didn't know
then.
about it either.
Okay.
So it was just like a big secret.
Wow. Okay. So looking back on that now, do you feel like that affected you as far as like your relationship with men or anything like that, or not so much?
I don't know. I
Not
think
sure?
it kind of traumatized me. I mean, yes, I guess in a way it did, yeah.
Yeah. Did it make you like leery of like
Certain
dealing with
things.
men? Yeah, or going
I
too
guess
far
in the
with men,
bedroom,
or
it
yeah.
just made certain things not want it.
Okay. It made you just uncomfortable with. Okay. All right. Okay. So at that time you were living with your mom, right?
At that time, I was living with my dad.
Okay. So did you start off in your childhood living with your mom first, or were you always at your dad's house?
I was living with my dad
Okay.
and visiting my mom.
Okay. So that was when that happened, where you were visiting mom and then you went to a friend's house? Okay. So when he found out about it, what happened?
At first, him and my stepmom kept asking me, and I was like, oh, no, it's just a friend. It wasn't me, it's just a friend. And then they kept on asking me. I was like, okay, it was me.
So why did you, what was it that made you lie? Was it like a...
Because
like
they made
you
it
were
seem like
scared
such
that
a
you were
big
gonna
deal.
get in trouble?
Yeah,
Okay.
like they're the way that they made it seem like it was a big deal, and I was just like, oh my God, like,
Right.
you
And
know,
as a kid, you don't know what's going to happen to who,
so
so
I
you're
didn't
like,
know
no.
what it was. Like,
Okay.
they were making a big deal, and I was just like,
Right, now I don't want to get in trouble, so no, I didn't do it. Okay.
So they ended up taking me to the doctor, and I ended up having a really bad infection, and his nails, like I had my insides were scratched up, and it was really bad. So I ended up getting like antibiotics, of course, and stuff like that. And my dad ended up contacting my mom, and I guess like she didn't offer up any information.
Oh, as far as like who it was that might have, so she didn't help at all. So what did you guys, was it then that you guys like stopped talking, or?
She quit talking to me for a while, and I didn't know why. So I ended up writing her a letter, and I really thought at that time like she stopped talking to me because I was contagious.
Because you're a kid and you don't know. You're like, why else would my mom stop talking to me?
Yeah, I thought she
Okay.
thought I was contagious. So I wrote her this letter. I was like, Mom, the doctor said I was okay. I'm on medicine. You can talk to me. Everything's okay. You know, just talk to me. It was like
Right.
this long letter.
And she still didn't. So when you got older, did you ask her about that? Like
Yes.
why it was that?
Later on, I didn't ask her. This person that I was dating asked her. So
Okay.
after I had my son, you know, my mom came down on my maternity leave to help me out. And so when she came down, the person I was dating kind of asked my mom, and she was like, oh no, I believed her. I don't know.
There was no, it was just kind of like.
And when she was asked that question, I wasn't there. I went to the store.
Okay.
So at that time, I was like, oh, thank God I wasn't there. Because if that would have been the answer that she gave me, I probably would have had a heart attack.
Right. Man, I know that has to be difficult, like not feeling like you can get any type of closure with someone in a situation like that. Is you guys' relationship okay now, or
Yeah, it's just kind of like one
you just
of those
have to let it?
unspoken things that
Right.
we don't speak about. Like the guy that did it, I'm still friends with his sister.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, you
So
know.
did he ever like come and apologize?
No,
or?
my brother, you know, when it happened, my oldest brother, I guess, confronted him. He denied it. And, like, we just moved past it. Like,
That was it.
we
You
still
just
see
move on.
him. His family still lives there. We still see him from here to there.
Wow. Sheesh. Okay. All right. So moving forward a little bit in the book. So that happened with your mom. Your mom stopped talking to you, and then you were living with your dad, right? So wasn't there a period that you went back to live with your mom?
Yes, so I was
Okay.
going back and forth with my mom. My mom ended up losing custody and losing her battle because she was in an abusive relationship.
Okay. So you talked a lot about that and the tremendous amount of abuse that she was going through, and you and your brother saw that. So what about that? Did you feel like that affected you later on, like seeing that, or?
I think it did. I think it affected me and my brother a lot. And there's two different ways that you can handle it. I think that I tried to handle mine a more positive way. Like I tried seeking counseling. You know, I tried
Okay.
to, better the
So
situation.
you were just really like present and knew how much that could affect you, so you took steps to like.
And I think my brother being like, a man and not really want to speak on it.
Right.
Just
You're supposed to
being
be
a man.
tough and just get through it and not
So
talk to
I think that
anyone.
kind of bothers him.
Okay.
a lot.
So were you living there during
No.
the time that not at that time? Okay. All right. So so she lost custody because of that. Then you went to live with your dad,
Yes.
and Jasmine was living there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how was your relationship with your dad and his girlfriend, or just wife?
At the time, they were not married.
Yeah, they ended up getting married, but it was some years into us kind of like being a family.
Okay. So how was your relationship there?
It was good. Most of the time we spent with her grandparents, so it was like wonderful over there. Like
Okay.
our grandma and poppy, so we had like go-karts and a pool, and we had horses across the street.
So that was like normal childhood, and you
Yeah.
guys were just okay. So was there ever a period that things got turbulent between you and your dad?
Definitely. So in the book that I talk about, there's a few situations. There was a time where I was visiting my mom in the summer, and he wanted me to come home to watch one of my brothers that he had my stepmom, so her mom.
Okay, so they didn't live far from each other, I'm guessing.
No, they did.
parents.
So my mom lived in Detroit, and my dad's side kind of stayed in the suburbs.
Okay.
So he wanted me to come home to watch my brother, and I was like, no, you got Jasmine, you got Grandma Poppy, you got all these people there, you know, to watch him. I don't have to come home. So he kind of got upset, and he called my grandfather, and he made my grandfather disconnect my phone. So mind you, my grandfather paid our phone bill. It was in my grandfather's name. He made my poppy turn off my phone. And I was staying with my mom during the summer, so he ended up keeping like all my clothes,
Everything from you.
So I was just stuck in Detroit with what I had. And so my sister, I think I called her from my mom's phone, and I was like just telling her like, I don't have anything or whatever.
Oh, this was the little sneaky plan you guys had. Okay.
So she comes up with this idea where she packed up all my stuff and she put it in a trash bag and she put it outside, and me and my mom did a drive-by, grabbed all my clothes and left. And she actually got in trouble for that. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble.
Of course. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that was the first like big rift between you and your dad then?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one, there was a situation that you talked about in the book that was a little bigger than that one. So what was it that spawned that one? He thought he caught you doing something, and then...
So during this time, my dad and my stepmom, they divorced. They divorced, and we were living in a different part. We were living in St. Clair Shores. I was going to a different school. He was dating somebody else, and he had a BlackBerry. So during this time, it was like, she put this thing on his phone where if, you text my dad, it was like, hey, what are you doing? She would get that message, hey, what are you doing?
Did he know that?
He did not know.
Okay.
So...
so he ended up seeing some like racy
right.
messages that he thought were from you.
He thought it was from me. I had a sleepover with my cousin Kenny. My cousin Kenny is out there. He's gay openly, and I had a sleepover. My other friend, my high school friend, was there, and we're texting one of his players, and the player said, "Do you do
blah blah blah
blah blah blah?" And Kenny was like, "Yeah, I do that." And
so your dad thought that
she
that
got
was
the messages, and she sent it to my dad, and he thought it was me.
Okay.
So my pappy picked me up from school, and my dad was on the phone, was like, "Oh, when I get home, I'm gonna do this," and then just cussing me, yelling at me on the phone. And me and my pappy thought, he's just upset.
Right. People just yell and scream and whatever.
He was upset. And so when I get home, I'm actually on the phone talking to my childhood friend, whose brother,
did
that
text,
so we're still friends, like I said, we're still friends. I was actually on the phone with her, and I'm on the phone, and I come downstairs, next my dad's like, pow, just punches me right in the face. So at this point, like, I'm flying back on the couch, and he's like grabbing me, hitting me, choking me, slamming me, and I'm like scrambling, like trying to push him off of me, and we're like tussling, and I'm like screaming. And
so you said Jasmine came and pulled him off?
No, that was different.
A different. Okay.
Yes. So that was that, and he left. He went upstairs, and I ended up like my phone fell in between the couch and the wall, so I ended up picking up my phone, running to take pictures of my face, and I saved the pictures to the SIM card. I took out the SIM card because I knew he was going to come take my phone. So I saved it to the SIM card, took the SIM card, and I changed my clothes. And I hid it. So as soon as I finished that, he came down, snatched the phone. His girlfriend came home, and she's like, "Oh my God, we gotta take her to the hospital. My lip was busted, the inside of my eye was bleeding, all the right hair was bruised," and he wouldn't let her.
Did she know what happened, or did she think that you fell or something, or she knew?
I don't know what he told her.
Okay.
I don't know what he told her, but she was like, "Oh my God, we gotta take her to the hospital." He wouldn't let her. He slept on the couch in front of the front door because he wouldn't let her. And then next thing you know, my grandma comes. And so I guess he might have told my grandma like what the messages said, because she brought me this letter. It was like talking about cherishing your body and respecting your body and all this other stuff. So like he wouldn't even let my grandma in the front door. So I remember like peeking around my grandma so like she could see my face, like, grandma. And he was like blocking the door so she couldn't see me. So I was like, oh dang. That didn't work. And then, I was missing so many days of school, and I remember thinking like, okay.
So he kept you home from school, and he wouldn't let you go to work.
And I couldn't like go to my mom's house. And I remember like, okay, one of my friends is gonna come ask me why I'm not at school. And that didn't work. And after my face cleared up a little bit, he had his girlfriend put makeup on my face, and that's when I went to my mom's house.
Okay.
And I remember he told me to tell my mom I got hit with a softball because I play softball.
So did you tell her that, or?
I told her that,
Yeah.
but she didn't believe that because, you know, my mom is, she was in a domestic violence.
Oh,
you know.
right. So she's like, no.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, I know what that looks like. That's not a softball hit right there. That's not a softball.
Mm-hmm. So did she take it to the police or anything?
I begged her not to because my dad, he told me that if I did, then there would be more problems. So I was just like, Mom, you can't do anything. And I started crying and stuff. So she just gave me a hug and she just started crying with me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when she had that going on, I ended up giving the pictures to my grandma and poppy.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a family friend who was our brother's dad's wife at the time.
Shona?
Karen.
Oh, yeah, she's a lawyer.
So she was saying, like, you know, since they're not like our my poppy's not my biological grandparent.
Oh, that they can't.
They couldn't get me, and I wasn't 18.
Okay.
So there wasn't nothing legally I can do, and since I couldn't be placed back with my mom, I couldn't go there either. So I was kind of like
So you
stuck.
just had to, that was another situation you just had to let go.
Yeah.
Okay. So did that sort of thing ever happen again, or was it like or was it just not to that extreme, but there were still incidents?
Yeah, it happened again if you want to.
Yeah, so we, in high school, we threw a party while our parents, so at this point, our dad and my mom had gotten back together. So they traveled to Tennessee a lot, and they would always leave me and my sister home. Our little brother would go over to our grandparents' house. So we just took one random opportunity to throw a house party. It was bad. We weren't responsible with it, so they clearly knew something had happened when they came home because we were not that great at cleaning up. And so, I mean, obviously we got into a lot of trouble, but I think it escalated really, really fast. Our dad had taken India into the bathroom, and I had known what happened previously. And me and my sister have always been really close, so we've kind of always had this, if you're gonna mess with one of us, it's kind of gonna be a both of us sort of thing. So I heard her screaming in the bathroom. So I mean, my mom's yelling at me, you know, he's yelling at her, but I knew that it could escalate into more of that. So I kind of like Superman busted into the bathroom and was like screaming at him to let her go, to get off of her, because I knew that it could potentially be a worse situation. And after that, he kind of like backed up really fast and was like, oh, you know, I'm not doing anything.
So was he just kind of just cornering you in there, or was there something physical?
He snatched me up
and like dragged her to the bathroom.
So it's still scary, and he might not have gotten to that point.
Yeah, there wasn't really much time between him like slamming the door and me hearing her scream. Mm-hmm. I kind of had like gotten away from my mom and went into the bathroom to make sure that she was okay.
Okay. So, but the kind of like physical thing, it was never any of the other kids. It was just with you.
Correct. I think I got the physical abuse from my dad. Mm-hmm. And my sister, she kind of took on a different form of abuse. Hers was more so mental abuse, if you ask.
Yeah, it was more like emotional. But I also think, too, him not being my biological father had maybe a little bit to do with it. I think that he thought...
there's only so far I can go with this one.
A little bit,
okay.
Yeah. And I think that, I don't know, it was kind of like this like possessiveness over India because it had always just been them two. Like he had custody of her since she was a little kid. So I think it was like a different, but yeah, it was a lot more physical with her and more emotional with me.
Okay. And did you have brothers over there too?
Yeah, so we have a younger brother, and then we have two younger brothers. Actually, one of them he lived with his father, and he kind of got a little bit of the physical from him as well. It would be a lot of like, I don't know, I vaguely remember one time him like putting him up against the wall because he had like broke something on accident.
So was that something that you ended up ever talking to him about later? Like, did he address it at all, or admit to it, or apologize? Or?
No, he apologized to me later on, probably when I was like 21, 22, coming out of basic training.
Okay.
Because I think I was at the lowest point in my life at that time, and I was at a low point, so I kind of initiated. I was sending out a message, telling him like, at this point, I don't want to be here anymore, and X, Y, Z. And he was like, well, why do you feel this way? And I was like, well, you hit me, you did this. And he was like, I'm so sorry I did that to you. So actually, the dialogue in the book is the dialogue that we had, because I kept that message.
Oh, okay.
Where he apologized, and when he did apologize to me, like I said, I kept that message, I screenshot it, and I actually sent it to my poppy, because my poppy was so hurt when he put his hands on me, because he felt like he since he dropped me off, like, it was his fault.
Right.
So
he carried some guilt.
Yeah. So when I sent it to him, my poppy called me and just started crying on the phone. So that was the first time that he apologized to me, but he has not apologized to, like, the family, or I don't believe that he even told them the truth.
Like, ever admitted it out loud to anyone else.
Right.
Okay.